Hello and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And this is the player ratings video for Everton's 2-0 win over Mansfield Town in the second round of the Carabao Cup. And it followed a similar pattern, I think, that these games tend to follow. But I think overall, I was actually really pleased with our performance. To be honest, I think we were completely in control throughout the game. I think there were some really nice moves we put together at points, and I think it was really evident that there's even with far from our strongest starting 11 out there, there's still a lot more quality in this side than we're used to seeing. And obviously you still had the likes of Grealish starting in there. Alcaraz, who was a starter last season, but now he's probably going to be a bit more of a bit part player, but really shone in this game, I thought. And the likes of James Garner, I thought was really effective, and Armstrong, of course. So we'll get into all of these players in more depth as we go on, of course, rating each player out of 10. But yeah, just to sum up my thoughts on the game overall, I don't think the result was ever in doubt. It was just a case of when we were going to score, not if. Um, and and yeah, a 2-0 comfortable win. Players returning to fitness. Obviously, Mikalenko back starting in the side, and just an extra bit of confidence going into Saturday, and maintaining this 100% record we have in competitive games at the new ground. So, yeah, just a good day at the office from everyone, I think. But yeah, getting into each player individually, we'll start with Mark Travers in goal. One of the hardest ones to make notes on, if I'm being perfectly honest. Didn't really have anything to do at all, really. We didn't really go through him too much in terms of building from the back. It was mostly through the two centre backs. Didn't have a single save to make. Um, so yeah, I'd feel harsh giving him anything like too low. But you can't really give him too high because he didn't really have anything to do. But I'm just going to give him a 7 purely because that's pretty much the average throughout this team as will become clear as we go on. But yeah, moving into the defence, Seamus Coleman made his first start and actually managed to complete 90 minutes. The first time he's done that in a year, um, which is crazy. I think it's unbelievable that the lad is still going at what I think 36 years old now. Um, and honestly, he's probably still our best right back, most or natural right back, I guess, which is crazy to say, but such a solid performance from player whose sharpness must be so low at the moment, but he didn't show it at all against an energetic Mansfield time at side at times. Obviously, they weren't posing us too many problems. We're mostly just trying to hit us on the break whenever possible, but anything down the left, Coleman dealt with completely effectively and also offered quite a bit going forward as well with the overlapping runs as we've been so used to seeing. Um, but obviously, we don't really get too much from O'Brien. Obviously, we're still hoping for a top right back to be brought in before the end of the window, a more natural right back than the likes of O'Brien, and who, and let's be honest, be relied upon a lot more than Coleman throughout the season. But Coleman has still shown that if he's fit, he's a more than reliable option as a backup, which is really pleasing. I was really impressed with Coleman. Give him an 8. Nice chance to captain Everton at the new ground, and as I say, complete a full 90 minutes. So fair play to him. Moving into defence, as I usually do. I'm going to do Tarkowski and Keane together because I think they both had similar performances. Really simple, routine games for them. As I say, weren't posed too many issues by the Mansfield attack, and obviously, whenever we needed to play out from the back, they mostly kept it simple, but did the simple stuff well. So I'm going to give them both a 7, just for having an easy day, really. And whenever they were called into action, they were more than up to the task. Mikalenko, as I mentioned, comes back into the side and looks absolutely solid. Cut one or two times he went down, and you were a bit worrying, like, oh, has he been put in too early? But no, it was able to almost, pretty much complete a full 90. He was brought off, of course, right at the end for Jake O'Brien, but I think we got even a clear indication, despite the lack of, as I say, threat the Mansfield pose, but an indication as to what we've been missing without Mikalenko on the side. That more natural left back gives us more structure in the defence, and he got forward quite well as well. It's clearly a side of his game he's been working on a lot since Moyes and obviously Baines got promoted to the coaching to the first team coaching staff. So. He shows he can overlap when Grealish tucks in a little bit, which obviously, James Garner wasn't naturally comfortable at doing in the position. So yeah, I'm hoping he'll be more than ready to start on Saturday against Wolves. And yeah, as I say, just gives that side so much more balance. Give him a 7 as well for this one. Moving into the midfield, as I mentioned, James Garner, I was really impressed with, and I think since he's been moved into this sitting role, obviously, the first few games of the season we've had to see him at left back filling in. I think he's been really good there as well. To be perfectly honest, I think he's done it without complaint and actually looked relatively comfortable there. He's been capable of using his left foot and just hasn't. Especially against Brighton, didn't look too out of place at all, even with the likes of Minter. Um, Causing issues down the right hand side with his pace. He was more than up to the task. So, but yeah, me moved back into his sitting role, which we've seen a little bit in pre-season. I'm really impressed. As I say, I still think we're going to get a more natural sitting defensive midfielder before the end of the window. Fingers crossed, anyway. But again, I think James Garner has proved that he can do this position really well, and I honestly thought he ran the show yesterday. I know he's someone who comes in for a lot of criticism, but I honestly think this season so far he's probably been our most consistent performer, if I'm being honest, across the 3 games. And as I say, 2 of them in an uncomfortable position. I think full credit to him. Obviously, the pass for the second goal, playing in Armstrong to play across for better to tuck in, superb. And yeah, he seemed a lot more involved in games at the moment. And obviously that's a criticism that's been levied at him a lot in his time, that he sometimes goes missing in games and doesn't take games by the scruff of the neck as you'd hope someone in the middle of the pitch can do when we're up against it. So yeah, really pleased by James Garner. I'm giving him an 8. And then I've just mentioned him there, Harrison Armstrong, who obviously received that pass from Garner for the second goal. Also had a superb game today. Obviously assists for both goals. Could have had another one in the first half as well, but he decided to shoot rather than play it across the Barry. Probably the wrong decision, but that's to be expected at this young age. But everything else, I think, has been really positive from him. I think his movement is superb. He's shown he's creative, calm on the ball, picks the right pass out so often, and yeah, I know there's been a lot of calls for him to go out on loan this season, but I think if it's between him and Iwabunim, I'd be sticking with Armstrong, and giving him a chance to fill in, come off the bench and have some like 20-minute, half an hour cameos, hopefully with on a regular basis this season, because I think he proved last night to a lot of people that he's more than ready to play a part for this team. Um, and yeah, I think we all want to see more of him and watch him grow. So. Yeah, I wouldn't be, obviously, if they deem that it's right for him to go out on loan and we have the sufficient depth there for him to go out on loan, and obviously that's great. It'd still be superb for his development, playing regular football somewhere. But yeah, as I say, if it's between one of them two, I'm loaning out Iwabunem personally and keeping hold of Armstrong for this season. But yeah, an 8 for him as well. Really, really exciting performance from Armstrong, I'd say. And then completing the centre of midfield, Carlos Alcaraz, who of course, again, has mostly had to fill in on the wings while we've been scrambling trying to find the right winger throughout the pre-season and in the first game against Leeds, and is clearly not looks comfortable out there. But I think last night we saw what Alcaraz is really capable of when he's in the right position. Really well taken goal, lovely, lovely finish, and could have had another one in the first half as well, of course, with some really clever movement and getting the shot away. But yeah, works so hard in midfield. I really like him as an option. It's pretty, I think it shows that the improvements we've made in the attacking midfield options, that we've got a player of Alcaraz's capability that's probably going to be sitting on the bench for most of the season and coming on. Um, so that's really exciting. And yeah, I've been really pleased with Carlos Alcaraz. I'll give him a 7. There was 1 or 2 moments again where he gives the ball away, but it's one of them where he works really hard to win it back that it almost cancels the things out. So yeah, really pleased with Carlos Alcaraz. Then moving into the more attacking options, Dwight McNeil was probably the weakest performer on the Everton side, if I'm being honest. I think we've all seen for a while now that his effectiveness isn't the best out on the right. He's more suited to being on the left or occasionally in the middle, of course, as Dyche sometimes played him. But yeah, he does with his reliance on his left foot, um, does sometimes make him a bit ineffective and unable to get past players, not being the fastest either. So yeah, it wasn't really his sort of game, I don't think. In this one, at playing at such a low tempo for most of it, and the intricate passes, of course. So I think he suits the more direct game, to be honest. So yeah, I'm again by no means, not wanting to pile on him, of course. But if you had to pick a weak performer out of Everton's team yesterday, it would have to be him. But as I mentioned before with Alcaraz, I think he's still a more than capable option coming off the bench and offering something different if we need it. As I say, that more direct option, the set pieces, we all know how effective he can be from them as well. So McNeil definitely still has a part to play, but yeah, I think it's clear now that the way we're playing, he's better off on the bench rather than starting in the least harsh way possible. So yeah, I'm going to have to give him a 6, which again is mostly the average rating for most of these, but obviously with it mostly being 7, um, yeah, he stands out as the weakest performer yesterday, I'd say. And then Jack Grealish on the left, of course. I think we were all a bit surprised to see him starting, but clearly Moyes still wanted to build his sharpness after the lack of pre-season he had. But yeah, he was just in control really throughout the game, just drifting across the pitch, basically doing what he wanted really. And I think he showed just how on top we were and how dominant we were throughout the game. He was the prime example of that. Some really nice runs here and there, nice intricate dribbles as we used to seeing, and some, you know, incisive passes. And yeah, obviously just didn't quite cap it off with a goal or an assist. But I think we've all been really pleased to see Jack Grealish in an Everton shirt and just want to see more. So, yeah, roll on Saturday and him hopefully being able to have even more of an impact than he did in this game. So, yeah, the 7 for Jack Grealish. And then finally starting off with, finishing off, I should say, with Barry. Again, another one who seems to be dividing a little bit of opinion at the moment, but I think most of us can recognise that there is definitely a player in here, and obviously he's by no means the finished article at such a young age, but I thought there were some really nice touches here and there. Obviously, Thierry Henry spoke on Monday Night Football about just how clever his movement is. I completely agree. Um, yeah, so I've been really impressed with how he drags defenders wide, makes the right runs, and obviously his hold-up play whenever needed. Obviously, again, this wasn't really that sort of game for that. We were mostly building through the midfield, and Mansfield were mostly standing off us and not getting too combative. So that sort of hold-up play wasn't really on show too much from Barry in this one. But so he showed on Sunday against Brighton that he's more than capable of doing it. So yeah, I'm more than in on Barry being the starter going forward. I think we all need to just stick with him. I think the goals will come. I think, and I think he really offers a lot more to this team than Beto does. To be perfectly honest, obviously, Beto came on towards the end, gets a pretty simple goal, but I think the difference in performance levels I think are quite obvious at the moment. And with Barry being the younger player, I think you just have to stick with him. Um, and hope that he can fulfill his potential, which he's only going to get from playing games. So yeah, so to finish it off with Barry being a 7, and just a word, on some of the subjects come on. Obviously, we got our first glimpse of Tyler Diblin. Didn't really make too much of an impact on the game, but there were some nice touches here and there. Um, I doubt he'll start on Saturday, if I'm being honest. I think it will be most of the same team that played against Brighton, with obviously Mikalenko coming back into the side and Garner probably moving into midfield at the expense of Ibabunum. But yeah, it will be. We'll obviously want to get a lot more of a look at this new exciting signing that we brought in, and then uh, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. There's only so much you can say about the likes of Njai and Ibabunum and O'Brien coming on, and better obviously as I've mentioned as well, wasn't quite few clunky moments here and there, despite his goal. But yeah, that pretty much sums up my thoughts on this one. So please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment below giving your ratings for the players and who you're looking forward to seeing on Saturday. What side you be going with? Subscribe to the Toffee Blues channel for more Everton content, and we will see you in the next video. Up the Toffees.